Although some art can be created in the moment, art that has as its goal to achieve a particular effect on a specific audience must be developed in a linear manner. That is, artists must keep the end in mind. Wallace's theory of stages of creativity breaks this process into four distinct areas, each of which builds on the step prior. This presentation will demonstrate how the musical artist Grayson Capps uses the stages of creativity to build his art, and how I could use the same guidelines to create artwork for my audience. Preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification are the guidelines the artist must follow in order to create the results that meets his audience needs. First thing Grayson does before going into his creative space is to grab a beer and a cigarette. He said that this helps him prepare and focus for what's next. In this picture, you can see him lighting a piece of wood called Palo Santo. This is to clear the air and set the mood. This wood is also known as holy wood. Here's a look at how I start the preparation process. Typically, I go out for a bike ride of 10 to 15 miles. This helps me look at my surroundings from a different perspective. Most recently, my art has been used to help raise funds for charitable organizations around town. To date, I've raised over thousands of dollars to help those in need. Since my audience is so diverse and most often unknown, biking helps me understand design problems I may encounter with creating such works. By keeping the end in mind, I can start focusing in on a problem and work on a design concept in order to raise money for charitable organizations in my community and beyond. At this stage, it's time for Grayson to sit down and start writing. Grayson only sat down for a couple of minutes before having to go back outside of his studio and sit down on the porch and simply look up at the skies. The reason for doing this is because it clears his head and it gives an opportunity for his ideas to grow. According to Mihai's flow state theory, this is the point of greater inner clarity because something can finally be put down on paper. And as we continue to look at Wallace's stages of creativity theory, this is where reflection and processing takes place, getting ideas out of the head and onto the paper itself. The incubation stage for me is getting my chosen choice materials out. Now that I'm back from my bike ride, I can sit down and start creating. The idea that came out of my bike ride is to make a bracelet. It's been some time that this idea has been on my mind. It was time for it to come out and be something that is tangible. In Herman's look at the flow state theory, he described this as in the zone moment, a moment of clarity as the processing takes shape. And in Wallace's theory, reflection and processing is when the artist is able to bring something forward to show for his work. This is an example of my incubation stage. At the illumination stage of creativity, according to Wallace, this is where a moment of clarity sets in for the artist. This is when things start to take shape and come together. It's the feeling of having a better understanding of where the process has taken you. The next slide is what illumination sounds like for Grayson Capps. Illumination in this project for me is when I see how all the words come together. Seeing how the idea I had in my head and now seeing it designed in front of me is a magical moment of clarity. To see an idea come to life and represent an idea is very powerful and validating to the artist.
This world against my will, against my will. I was born in this world against my will, against my will, against my will.
In Wallace's verification stage, my outcome is seeing how the finished product came out. It's magical to take an idea from your head and make it with your hands. In Mihai's theory, I can say that I lost track of time when creating this bracelet. I was so focused on aligning letters and hammer strikes that by the time I got finished this piece, 45 minutes had passed.
An artist and a human being, and I think we were talking about the closest thing you can get to finding God or whatever the great creator or force in the universe is to create positive force that creates change and growth and health. And So creation is the closest a human can get to being one with God, or whatever you want to call the driving force of nature.
Well, I discovered the genius of Grayson Capps after a personal tragedy. My husband died early after 34 years of marriage, and I found myself alone and lost. Found Grayson in my hometown doing a show, went to hear him to try to get away from what I was feeling. And through him, I discovered joy and love. He is nothing but someone that gives anybody that's listening joy and love. So much so that I've dedicated my life to being there for him, supporting him. I follow his music. I follow and travel him everywhere because he gives me peace in my heart and joy.
I would like to thank Grayson Capps for opening his home, studio, and heart as my case study for my Petra Kucha. I know that daily life keeps us running, so thank you for spending time with me. To me, time is the greatest gift that we can give anyone. Thank you for reminding me that love is all around you if you look, listen, and feel everything around you.